What's up, Tsla family? It's Ray J back with another video. And in this one, I wanted to break down what's happening with Tesla SPY in the broader markets. I'm going to break down some big news involving the Robotaxi, what's happening with UBS as they have a new rating for Tesla. So we have some good news and bad news. Just know that I am not a financial planner. Take nothing I'm saying as financial advice. Anyways, as far as Tesla's going, I would have liked to see Tesla hold above 344 to remain bullish. But I said if we couldn't hold above that, we would be expecting a move down. And what happened was Tesla tested near 344, but instead of holding above this key level, we got a rejection back down into the 330s. Now, instead of holding 333, we actually continued to fall all the way down to the low 320s. And overall, we're not doing a very, very good job at holding up. So Tesla is still showing some weakness compared to SPY and the broader markets. So let's break down what's happening with the news and why Tesla's selling off. The first thing is that we're getting some bad news from the European sales right now in the month of May. Based off data from the EU and UK, our European sales are down 27.9% year over year in the month of May again. So we're still seeing lots of weakness in their sales in Europe and also many of the Chinese made EVs. So a lot of them are actually outperforming Tesla in terms of growth in Europe. I did show you guys the charts in the morning. So that's just leading to a lot of, criticism that Tesla is getting because of how politics and such have been affecting them. I think the effects are still there, and it's going to take Tesla time to recover from this. So for now, not the best of news. Now, on top of this, there has been some news that came out from Goldman Sachs. We have Delaney, who's an important analyst from Goldman Sachs, that said that the Cybercab fleet is going to be a very, very slow growth. The first thing they mentioned is that Tesla's reliance on the city specific tech stack in Austin is one of the reasons why. Secondly, the presence of a Tesla employee in the passenger seat and the navigation slash lane issues already reported during the day one usage. So this is a little bit more negative news that came out from Goldman Sachs. They do believe that the robotaxi is bullish for the longer term, but for the short term, they are worried that it's going to take a while to really get the growth we're looking for. It's going to be a slow growth. That's what we're hearing from them. Simultaneously, we're seeing something very similar being said by UBS. What's good is they did raise their price targets about 215 from 190, so that's still significantly lower than where we currently are. But they're saying that based off their data, they have estimated that Tesla's going to develop about 2.3 million of the vehicles by 2040. It's going to be generating around $200 billion in revenue if the company successfully navigates technological, regulatory, and network building challenges. But unfortunately, that's going to take like over a decade in their personal opinion. And I think we're still a far ways away from getting a full on autonomous robotaxi. So when it comes to the technology that's growing, I do agree with the scalability of Tesla, but I do have to also say that, at the same time, we're not just gonna have an instant 1 million of these robo taxis in a year. It may take longer to get there. I do acknowledge that. 10 years may be a stretch. It may take less time than that, but we'll see because the robo taxi is very scalable. That depends on how well Tesla could really develop this technology and how well they could really get through regulations. It is still very bullish for the long term, but for the short term, Tesla's still selling off with all this negative news. So I would like to see Tesla get back above 335 at the very least to see some kind of rebound move. If we can't do that, we're looking at support right over here around this 325 area. If that fails us, we're looking for 320 and then 316 as our supports. Looking at the daily time frame, we're also showing some weakness on Tesla right here as we got two red days right here. We also have kind of like a double top. So that could take us all the way down to 315 as this continues to fall. So there is still some weakness on Tesla. So please keep that in mind. Now, if Tesla wants to be bullish, like I said before, you want to get back above 335. But as of right now, as the market looks a little bit lackluster, that's also contributing to why Tesla's selling off a bit. So I'm going to be watching to see if it could hold around this 320 area. If not, we're going to be expecting more downside for 316 or below where the 200 EMA happens to be. So as of right now, Tesla is looking a bit weaker, and there's going to be a risk of us dipping to the lower 320s or below. Now, in terms of SPY, we pushed very nicely to 608. If we break that, we're going to be pushing even more to 610. But if we can't hold above 608, right, there's going to be a risk of us continuing to fall. And we could see this come all the way down to like the 605s if we can't get back above that resistance. So I do anticipate a retest of this resistance that's now going to become support around 605. If we can see SPY get a nice bounce from here. So keep that in mind, guys. There's going to be a risk of 605 or below if we don't get some kind of nice rebound. So please be very, very careful. I would like to see us hold above 608 to be bullish. If we can't do that, I do see 605 being tested, and there might be a bit of a pullback. Jerome Powell did warn us that in case the Fed does make a mistake, the consequences could be very dire and they could be very impactful for everyday people, which is why I think that the market started to sell off just a bit. It's also because of technicals. I did warn you guys. There's a tough resistance at 608. So for now, SPY is slowing down. The QQQ is rejecting on the 4 hour. It depends on how we close on the 4 hour, but for now, we need to see if we could get back above 544 to be bullish, or 542.5. Let me correct myself. Sorry about that. If we lose 540, I do see a risk of us returning back down to like 538. So be very careful. There's also a gap to pull back down at 535. So we could see 538 to 535 in case we fail at 540. So be careful on the QQQ as there's a risk of downside. On the IWM, we were supposed to hold above 215 to be bullish. We're rejecting. We're going to be watching 212 to see if it holds. If not, we're looking for 210.8. ES pushed about 61.60, very close to our targets. If we can't get back above 61.50, there's going to be a risk of us returning back down to this imbalance around the lower 6100s, so be very careful. On NQ, you want to see us get back above 22,500. If not, we could be dipping all the way down to 22,300. So you want to be very, very careful. Bitcoin is rejecting as well on the 4 hour. We're going to see if we get back above resistance. If not, we could be dipping to like 105,000. Tesla once again is showing weakness, and there's going to be a risk of us returning back down to 320 then 316 if that fails. On Nvda, we're showing strength compared to the market as we got a nice report so far, as we got a big increase in the price targets from Loop Capital. So as long as we're above 150, we're still favoring the 152.5 area. But be careful, because if the market does turn, that could also cause us to retest 150. So be a little bit careful on that end. Apple had a high here, came down, made a lower high. I would like to see us hold above 202.5. If not, we could be retesting 200 or below. On AMD, we're looking bullish. I want to see if we could break 144. If not, we could turn back down. Coinbase is bullish. It pushed up to about the 360s, but now it's trying to reject. So the trend is bullish, but this could retest 340 if this continues to fall a bit. Then we'll see if it bounces. Amazon might be returning back down to 212, and if that fails, it's just a gap to fill at 210. Meta is starting to slow. It could be dipping back down to about 705. Google needs to continue to push above 172 to push to 175. If it can't do that, we're looking for 170. And Microsoft has resistance at 494. We need to break past that. If not, we could be dipping back down to about 488. The VIX dipped quite a bit, but now it's trying to hold 17. So we're going to see if this gets a bounce or not. So for now, guys, be very careful with the markets. We are choppy right now, but there's going to be a risk of some downside. And that may also contribute to why Tesla's slowing the markets as a whole, and all this negative news involving European sales and some news about how the Robotaxi may be a very, very slow a slow scale. It's not just going to happen overnight, according to lots of these analysts. So keep that in mind. That's what's causing Tesla to sell off. Also, after big events, we did mention that Tesla sometimes sells off. So in this case, it was just a temporary bounce, only to reject back down, and the risk of downside is still there. So watch the 200 EMA as our main support. We basically have that 325 and 320 area. If that fails us, we're looking for 316. Watch your supports, guys, and thank you all so much for listening. I'll see you guys very soon on the next one, and peace out.